Let's play Jeopardy!
For 100 peace points, this document signed on the 10th of April 1998 brought an end to the armed conflict in Northern Ireland and set up a framework for Northern Ireland to become integrated into a united Ireland.
What is the Good Friday Agreement? It is hard to understate the importance of the Good Friday Agreement. The feat of bringing armed groups to the table and having diplomatic discussion is remarkable. The agreement has brought one of the most lasting peaces in the world.
For 200 peace points, this event ended with 10 men dead. Include the place and or year this event took place.
What is the hunger strike of 1981 in Long Kesh prison? This hunger strike occurred because prisoners who were members of the IRA wanted to be recognized as prisoners of war and given rights as such, not treated as common criminals.
For 300 peace points, the victory of William of Orange in this battle is celebrated every year on July 12th by loyalist groups.
What is the Battle of the Boyne? The Battle of the Boyne solidified the Protestant ascendancy in Ireland through the defeat of the Catholic forces of deposed King James II. This was the end of Gaelic Catholic rule in Ireland.
For 400 peace points, this set of rules forbade English settlers from marrying Irish people, having children together, speaking Irish, etc. These statutes were put into place in 1366.
What are the Statutes of Kilkenny? These were used to prevent the English settlers from becoming Irish and making sure English culture dominated that of the Irish.
For 500 peace points, this January 1969 event, modeled on the march to Montgomery, Alabama of the American Civil Rights Movement, ended in an ambush by Loyalists and the Royal Ulster Constabulary.
What is the Long March? The Long March was a show of resilience and determination and was attacked multiple times along its route. It exposed the unwillingness of the police to protect all of their citizens and sectarianism of their government.
Moving into groups for 100 peace points. What group, which split in two in the late 20th century, served as the armed wing of the nationalist movement?
What is the IRA? The IRA is very important because for the vast majority of its history, it was an army without a state. It sought to be treated like a foreign army by the British and attempted to legitimize itself through entrance into politics with Sinn Féin.
For 200 peace points, the name of this organization is Irish for Ourselves. It is the major Republican Party in Northern Ireland.
What is Sinn Féin? Often considered the political wing of the IRA, Sinn Féin formed the Dáil Éireann in 1919. Today, it is gaining popularity among young people for its left-leaning policies.
For 300 peace points, this group is the largest loyalist paramilitary force in Northern Ireland. It used the cover name Ulster Freedom Fighters to redirect blame for its attacks and not get banned by the government.
What is the Ulster Defence Association? The UDA engaged in random killings of Catholic civilians in retaliation for IRA attacks and is recognized as a terrorist group by the British government.
Groups for 400 peace points. This group is a militarized police force used to supplement the military presence in Northern Ireland.
What are the B Specials? The B Specials were a hated sectarian group in Northern Ireland, infamous for the brutality with which they treated Catholics. They carried out pogroms and were always there to quash a riot or peaceful protest.
For 500 peace points, this group is a Republican socialist paramilitary who cooperated with the IRA in the Long Kesh hunger strike and often competed for members with them.
What is the Irish National Liberation Army? The existence of the INLA showed that while Republicans had largely similar end goals, there were divides regarding methodology and practice.
Moving to culture and language, for 100 peace points, in what branch of the Indo-European language family does the modern Irish language belong?
What is the Celtic branch? The differences in language and culture between the native Irish and the colonizing English are major reasons for the lack of respect the English held for the Irish, and why the Irish resisted conforming so hard.
Culture and language for 200 peace points. This is the system which Celtic Christian Ireland followed. Instead of a vertical hierarchical structure, this tradition was community-based.
What is the monastic tradition? The lack of emphasis on hierarchical social structure for a communal structure is another big difference between the culture of Ireland and its colonizers.
For 300 peace points, the object of this traditional Irish game is to score points by putting the ball in or above another team's goal.
What is Gaelic football? As with the language and other points of this culture, Irish sports are very distinct from British ones and remain a way for Irish people to hold on to their distinct culture, especially in the more westerly areas of Ireland.
For 400 peace points, along with Scottish Gaelic and Manx, modern Irish descended from Old Irish, and thus is in this branch of the Celtic languages.
What is Gaelic? Irish is not anywhere nearly intelligible with the accepted Celtic languages by England, Cornish and Welsh, which are Brythonic languages. This reinforces the otherness of Irish to the English.
For 500 peace points, this Irish phrase means a country without language is a country without soul.
What is Tirgan Changa Tirgan Ana? This alludes to Gaelic cultural rehabilitation. In the early 20th century, there was a cultural revival and a fight to preserve and bring back Gaelic language and Irish culture.
On to major players. For 100 peace points, this man converted Ireland to Christianity and chased out the snakes.
Who is St. Patrick? St. Patrick is the patron saint of Ireland and a deeply important and celebrated figure in the hearts of Irish Catholics.
For 200 peace points, this woman, known as the Iron Lady, was the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom from 1979 until 1990.
Who is Margaret Thatcher? Thatcher treated the IRA as criminals and refused to recognize them as a political unit. Also, under her leadership, the British Army killed dozens of its own civilians. To this day, she is one of the most reviled people by the Catholic community in the North.
For 300 peace points, this person is the author of The Price of My Soul and witnessed Bloody Sunday along with Ivan Cooper.
Who is Bernadette Devlin? Devlin works to spread awareness as a civil rights leader in Northern Ireland till this day. She remains an important figure in the North in the fight for equal rights.
For 400 peace points, a Protestant who is known as the father of Irish republicanism and led the 1798 rebellion.
Who is Wolfe Tone? He and his United Irishmen started the Republican movement. Wolfe Tone is particularly notable because he became a martyr for the cause and a unifying force for Republicans, Catholic and Protestant alike.
For 500 peace points, this person was a founding member of the Social Democratic Labour Party. This person has received multiple peace awards, including the Nobel Peace Prize.
Who is John Hume? Hume played a major role in the peace process in Northern Ireland. He was involved in the writing of the Anglo-Irish Agreement and the Good Friday Agreement.
Moving on to places, for 100 peace points. This town is located in Northern Ireland. The Battle of the Bogside took place here. This major city goes by two different names, depending on whether you're Loyalist or Republican.
What is Derry, or Londonderry? This change in name was one of the ways the British forced their ways and culture onto Ireland, and how they established their hegemony in the north of Ireland.
For 200 peace points, in which of Ireland's 4 historical provinces can you find the 6 counties of Northern Ireland?
What is Ulster? When partitioning, the UK did not want to take all of Ulster, only the parts that were mostly Protestant.
For 300 peace points, located within the Maze prison, this part of the prison was where the 1981 hunger strike took place.
What is H blocks? In the H blocks, 10 men died protesting for their rights as political prisoners instead of criminals.
For 400 peace points, this is the building in Dublin where the Easter Rising took place.
What is the General Post Office? The Easter Rising kicked off the armed Irish fight for independence and eventually led to the partition of Ireland.
For 500 peace points, in this town, the deadliest single event of the Troubles took place. A car bomb exploded, killing 29 and injuring 220.
What is Omagh? The IRA called in warnings, but police accidentally moved people towards the bomb. The tragedy is a failure of communication and cooperation between different bodies, as the British intelligence services had information on the bombers they did not share with the RUC.
100 peace points for psychology or trauma. This 3-decade-long period of civil war caused lasting damage to the Irish Republican psyche.
What is the Troubles? Over 3,000 recorded deaths occurred during this time in Northern Ireland. About half of the casualties were civilian.
For 200 peace points, the conflict in Northern Ireland is a conflict of religions is an example of what term? This term relates to the idea that history tells the winner's story.
What is the master narrative? Most of the world has been told this master narrative about religious conflict in Northern Ireland. Due to this, there are many misconceptions about what is going on in Northern Ireland.
For 300 peace points, this term describes the political, social, and economic domination of Ireland by members of the Protestant faith.
What is the Protestant ascendancy? This is probably the biggest driver behind the Irish conflict and the Troubles. The leadership by a minority over the Catholic majority and the institutional oppression that came with it created the tensions between the Irish Catholics and the British Protestants.
What is this book, written by Garrett O'Connor, that claims the Irish suffered psychological damage due to British oppression that is akin to the psychological damage that child abuse victims display?
What is malignant shame? This psychological damage has passed down through generations and affected how people of Irish descent view their Irish heritage to this day.
For 500 peace points, this inquiry, published on June 15, 2010, uncovered the true events of Bloody Sunday in 1972.
What is the Seville Report? This report was extremely important for the Irish Republicans because after 38 years the British finally admitted that they were at fault. They explicitly stated that their military caused the deaths of 13 civilians that posed no imminent threat to the soldiers. Thank you for playing our Jeopardy! We hope you learned something.